Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Technical Sergeant Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I want to say hello to our deployed friends. Thanks for continuing to listen. Coming up, we're talking with Daniel Cooper from the Yellow Ribbon Program. First off, like I said earlier, I want to say hello and welcome home, actually, to some of our deployers. You can see pictures of their return on our Facebook page. Also, some of our security forces and our team that went to the 59th presidential inauguration have returned home as well. On Friday, January 22nd, Lloyd J. Austin III was confirmed and sworn in as the 28th Secretary of Defense. He served 41 years in the United States Army before retiring as a four-star general in 2016. As an outcome of the 101st Air Force Uniform Board, Air Force women will now be able to wear their hair in up to 2 braids or a single ponytail, not longer than, I love this. This is like a rule out of the Major League Baseball rule book. A single ponytail, not longer than a horizontal line running between the top of each sleeve inseam at the underarm through the shoulder blades. I'll have a picture if you're watching the video of this. In addition, women's bangs may now touch their eyebrows but not cover their eyes. These new changes will be effective upon publication of the new standards in Air Force Instruction 36-2903 in February. The board reviewed all ideas, including a recommendation from the Air Force Women's Initiative Team. Thousands of women across the Air Force provided feedback to the Women's Initiative Team, stating constraints to hair grooming standards resulted in damage to hair, migraines, and in some cases, hair loss. Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne Bass, said, in addition to the health concerns we have for our airmen, not all women have the same hair type, and our hair standards should reflect our diverse force. Unfortunately, Beards for Men did not get the okay. For more information, consult AFI 36-2903, Dress and Appearance.
I'm Tech Sergeant Scoggins in the 126th Air National Guard Air Refueling Wing, and I'm an aerospace maintenance technician, a crew chief. So our job entails mostly, on a good day, inspections. We get the jet ready to leave, and then we catch it when it comes back. So we interact with the pilots there, and then if they have any issues, they tell us. We have to do an inspection pre and post flight to find any discrepancies, and if it's something we can fix on the spot, we do.
I'm Lieutenant Pippins, AMXS, Aircraft Maintenance, and I am the Aircraft Maintenance Officer. I am a supervisor of all the crew chiefs, so all the men and women that work hard every day out on the line to make sure that the 9 aircraft that we have here at Scott are ready to fly for the pilots, and I just make sure that they have everything that they need so that they can meet that mission every day.
One of the biggest benefits from working with the 126 would definitely be traveling. I've got to go to a lot of cool places for free to me. We get to go to Europe a lot. We're state partners with Poland, so we get Poland at least once or twice a year. It's nice. If you are in the unit, I recommend picking up that trip.
Thanks to joining the Guard, I've been able to get my bachelor's in kinesiology from the University of Illinois, and then I got my doctor of physical therapy from Southwest Baptist University. So I'm a doctor of physical therapy on the civilian side. I work as an outpatient physical therapist. They're both completely different jobs, but completely rewarding. I work one-on-one mostly in my civilian career field, and then here I'm in charge of 50 people. So it's a much larger scale, but they're both provided me so much experience.
Hi, we are the 126 recruiting team. I'm Master Sergeant Heather Wilde, recruiting flight chief.
I'm Technical Sergeant Richard Olson, production recruiter. To learn more about career training with the 126, give us a call at 618-222-5701.
But wait, there's more. Give us a call in the next 5 minutes and you could qualify for 4 years of free college tuition.
Mr. Daniel Cooper is our guest today on the podcast. Mr. Cooper, Dan, can I call you Daniel?
You can call me Daniel. That's
All
good.
right, Daniel. He is the Yellow Ribbon Support Specialist. Daniel, I have to ask, I've been in the military a long time. Just right off the bat, what is the Yellow Ribbon Program?
Well, the Yellow Ribbon Program was actually established like in 2008, and what it is we members here, as far as we work with the service members of the wing itself. So what we do is we bring the resources and the programs to the military member once they get mobilized before they go on the deployment and after they return.
So that's a surprise to me. So before they even leave, what kind of support are you offering them?
Anything for your education, school, things for their families as well while they're actually deployed. We take care of them. They can actually talk with a TRICARE member as far as the representative for the state. They can talk about getting education as well. And then any other programs or resources that we provide in a pre-status, we will bring all those resources and they can talk straight to the horse's mouth.
So probably asking the same question. How does the Yellow Ribbon Program help the returning deployers?
So once they return, as far as how it is, they get different benefits as they get mobilized once they're on status. And when they come off, as far as their orders, we actually find different programs for them as well for the return, like anything that can still help with the family, anything for the state as well. If once they come off active orders, if their medical status would change as far as what benefits they've been entitled to then. And then once again with the education as well, they can continue doing any of that.
What is the Yellow Ribbon Program specifically? Is this just like information like, hey, here are the things that are, you kind of like coordinate a big email and say, here's everything that you're entitled to, or is it more involved than that?
So as far as for me as I'm an event planner. So what we do is we kind of plan a party. So what we'll do is we find out how many people are going to be going out the door, going on deployment. And what we'll do is we kind of change to a regional concept. So what we do is we find a hotel that is suitable to have this event. It's almost kind of like a job fair status where there's tables and people to talk to. So we find a hotel. We find a big conference room area. We'll set up different rooms for different classes and courses that they could take, and they can choose while they're there. We provide hotel. We provide the rooms. We give them food as well. We offer daycare for the children. So that encourages the spouse and family to come, because we want the families to come. Because normally, in most of the cases, the spouses have more questions than the military member because they're always there. So we actually we encourage the families to show up, and we take care of daycare. So that way they can feel comfortable and attend this stuff and get the information that they need.
That is a good point, because my wife is always asking me questions, and I'm like, yeah, we just do it. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know how to explain it. And I'm in this career field. So just an example of what kind of, when we go to an event like this, what kind of things can we expect or people or programs or whatever can we expect to see?
We can have anything that's part of your local community, your VFWs, any of your local schools that'll be there. We bring in cadre member speakers, motivational speakers that come in and talk to you that either used to be prior military, that kind of been there and done that, so they kind of can feel exactly what you're going through, so they can relate to it. We give them different topics as far as what to speak on. Then we bring in, as far as any other resources, they would be TRICARE. That's usually a big one. We'll bring in anybody from the state VA. If people are looking to buy homes, we bring those representatives in as well, as far as when they come off. And we kind of tailor it based upon their needs as far as what they'll have. And then that way they can go and talk to them, because everybody has their own personal different issues under their own roof. Not everybody's has the same cake, if you will. So they can go and talk to them and get the information they need from those resources.
What can, because I know, in the National Guard especially, we have members that don't always live in the specific area. I know we have airmen in Chicago and Mount Vernon, and sometimes they're out.
I know
of
we
state.
have a couple out in Virginia and California as well.
Okay, wow. So what are those folks? How do you take care of those folks that might need those services? Or
we pay for transportation. So what we do is we find out how far they live, and we actually request funds from the Guard Bureau, and we fly them out.
How long does an event like this last? Is this like over a drill weekend? Is that how this works?
We don't do it on drill weekends because you're on orders on drill weekends, and when you're on yellow ribbon, you're on Title 10 orders as well, so you can't be on 2 sets of orders at one time. So what we try to do is to break that conflict up. We do it on a non-drill weekend. So it's 3 days long. Now that we switched to a regional concept, it's now 3 days long. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a Friday is a travel day, all-day event on a Saturday, and then you get a half event day on Sunday, half a travel day on Sunday.
What's the difference? What are Title 10 orders?
I guess these Title 10 orders would be training orders, almost very similar to the ones you go on your drill weekend, except they're coded differently.
Yeah, and then, you mentioned it earlier, but one thing we have to remember is that it's not only the airmen that go through the deployment, it's the family. How can the Yellow Ribbon program help the family?
As far as helping the family, anything that like if the deployed member goes deployed and you have spouse and children at home, the spouses can actually talk with either some of the support groups that they may have. If they have questions, because some of the spouses aren't comfortable talking with military members in the wing. I've come across that too. They're just not comfortable talking to a first sergeant, even though it's offered and it's there. So what we do is we find it's almost like a hens club, if you will. There's times where wives spouses club has gotten together and formed from this, but it's kind of difficult with the Guard because they live so far away and not as close. So any of the support groups that we have that may be offered in any of the resources we have, we kind of tie them out to that as well. But we give them other options to choose as opposed to one they don't want.
Okay, so you're kind of there to assist them during the spouses during the deployment.
Yes, sir. They can reach out to us as well, and we've actually had events during the deployment process as well. There may be, so I've had spouses reach out to me, say, "Hey, I got a question about something. Do you think we can have an event for the spouses?" Yes, we can. We just got to get approval from the Guard Bureau to do so and make sure we have funds in-house. And, of course, with COVID, it would be a little different, but it is possible to do so.
During the deployment for the troops that are deployed, what do you have resources for them, or do they go someplace else for that?
Usually what we'll do is we'll find out exactly how many people would be, how many people we have for this kind of event and what they're looking for.
Right.
Obviously, communication is key. We find exactly what they're wanting, and we kind of tailor it to that as much as possible. If it's one lane, we can actually direct them straight to the resource, and they can go talk straight to them. They can set up a meeting that way as well.
You mentioned COVID. What's been the biggest challenge with COVID?
The biggest challenge, well, since we can't have in-person events, we kind of went virtual, kind of like everyone else has. We created an online CBT-style training event where they kind of get the information, but the only downfall is they don't get to talk to resources straight to them. So they kind of it's standard military training. They go through the courses, but it allows them to give them credit, and it allows them to at least view the information. I mean, like I said, it takes the in-person place out of it. It's like direct communication's gone, so you're looking at a screen. So not too sure as far as, and I've taken it before just to see how it works. The information is there, but the people aren't. So it's kind of a disconnect, but we're still trying to keep it connected, give them the information that they need. And then if they got questions, they still can talk to us. And I always make sure I follow up with them at any given time to ensure the fact that if they got questions, comments, or concerns, that they can bring them to me.
Is the Yellow Ribbon program mandatory?
It is mandatory for first-timers now. So if they've never deployed before, first-timers, they have to at least get a pre-event and a post-event. There was a post-2 event. There's a post-1 and post-2, which is they had it to where it was more redundant. So what they did was they made it optional. So as far as when they redid the regional concept, so it's mandatory for first-timers to get a pre and a post-1. Post-2 is optional for everybody. And then as far as after you've completed both of those two, you're compliant in the eyes of the Guard Bureau. However, if you were to get put on orders and you've already been there and done that, completed, and you're compliant, you have the choice to either attend an event or bypass and say, I don't want to do it.
Is there regulation that says how soon a Yellow Ribbon event should be held?
Yes, in our guidance that we have, don't have the number with me right now, but we do have a series of guidances that show us as far as how often they're supposed to have it. I know the Army, once they are compliant, they have to redo the process every 3 years. As of right now, the Guard Bureau is doesn't have that kind of repeat timeline. Right now, once you're compliant, you're compliant.
So you said yellow ribbon 2, is that's a couple months after the first yellow ribbon? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so what you'll do is you get a pre, so before you go on orders, usually roughly we try to get you 6 months or greater, depending on when they go. Sometimes they have pre-training prior to their orders, so we try to catch them before they go on orders. Once they return, they have 365 days to get a post-1 event. So they have a year, so there's plenty of time, wiggle room to get there. Normally with the post-2, it was usually, 30 to 45 days for the post-1, and then 6 months, at least up to 6 months before you get a post-2. But since they revamped the program, we went a regional concept. You get a before and an after, and then the post-2 one is optional for everybody. And everybody's pretty much bypassing that because it's almost redundant, because it's almost similar to a post-1 as far as any of the resources that we would have.
So we have deployers returning soon.
Yes, sir.
When will the next yellow ribbon function be held, and where do you plan on having it?
Currently, we have one online event from the 10th to the 24th of February, which is just the virtual online one. We do have an in-person event from the 26th to the 28th of February in Nashville, Tennessee. So what we do is kind of give them a choice. If they want to do that right now, since we do offer the virtual ones, then they have a year from the order's end date to catch one. They can do an in-person one, or they could do an online one.
You can't beat going to Nashville.
Not for 3 days, especially when you've been locked up, cooped up, and you want to get out and do something.
Right. What kind of precautions are they taking in these in-person yellow ribbon programs now that we're in this time of COVID and hopefully coming out soon?
With any of the in-person events that we go to, we do make sure we bring security forces any given time just to kind of scope the area out. We are a bunch of military members in one area, could be a hot target. So we do that with every single one, COVID or not. We've always done that.
Oh, okay.
With the way with the COVID rules, they're actually giving us more space, so we can space out, keep our distance, that kind of stuff. They taking some of the concept rules of as far as how when we'd eat. Used to be a buffet style. They're going to plate our food. Yeah. So kind of wiggle room, and it depends on what the state wants. Since we're going to Nashville, Tennessee, it's depending on what their guidance in that state would be compared to what we'd have in Illinois.
So you are in charge of the region. Is that right?
I'm one of the many yellow ribbon in the region.
Oh, okay.
Because there's 3 in the state.
Okay. So what is this region? Is it Missouri, Illinois? Is it in...
There is, as far as our region, it's a southwest region or southeast region. It covers from Texas to Louisiana up to Illinois. I believe we have Iowa. Goes on down to Florida, down to Mississippi. So it's kind of a weird region. There's 3 regions break out. There's the West Coast, there's the East Coast, and the Midwest.
Oh, okay. Just to reiterate, this one in Nashville that's coming up, the Yellow Ribbon program they pay for everything.
We pay for everything except mileage in your car and time in your watch, yes.
Well, I mean,
we cover all costs, and everything's reimbursable on the back end once you return and file your voucher.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville's only 3 hours away?
Ish, yes, sir.
Ish, mm-hmm. Yeah. When do you expect the next yellow ribbon to be here in Illinois, or maybe the southern Illinois?
As far as the state, as far as how it's done, NGB works with our regional managers, and they decide as far as where we're going to have it. Okay. As far as a centrally located area. It also, since it is a contract deal, it depends if we have the space to house up to 750 people. That's normal out of COVID. In the COVID area, as far as the numbers, we just kind of have the same space, but now we cut the numbers of people showing up in half. So in Nashville, instead of 750 people, that was our cap max. We're going to be down to 350, so it gives us space and room to operate.
Well, that's good. How often, I don't know if you talked about this already, but how often do you have these yellow ribbon programs? Because we also have people that are onesies and twosies that go off to deploy.
Correct. So to kind of cover the gap of the onesie twosies, we have one like every month, but it's in different regions. So if they're a pre and they're brand new first time deployers, we will send them into a cross region to catch an event, so they can kind of get that. For a post, we just wait for them to come back around in our region because they have a year to catch it.
Okay.
So we will cross region if we have to catch a pre, to make sure they get their resources and get the information.
How often does this region have a yellow ribbon program?
Since there's 3 regions, once every 3-4 months.
Oh, okay. So
we'll
it's
catch one.
Yeah.
I mean, right now Nashville's a good site because it houses a lot as far as what we need. We're looking for other areas. I mean, we've only been doing this regional concept since December of 19. So if we just kind of barely had a year to get started before we got shut down for COVID.
So you've been in the military 22 years. You were telling me. How have you seen? How has the yellow ribbon helped the returning deployers, or have you seen that this help returning deployers? Yeah.
Well, once people do go deployed, things change. As far as before they left, when they went over, everybody has their own issues. But helping them once they return, they may want to retire. When they come back, they made some life choices may have been either adjusted, chosen for them, or just they're looking to do a fresh start. Things happen when you have that moment of clarity when you're deployed. So things change, whether it be a life change of spouse, extra child, things of that nature. So we taking the idea of all those information pieces and bring those resources to them as much as possible. But we listen to them as well. And then we actually try to find out from their commanders, trying to get them involved. I go to UDM meetings, trying to find out. They know the pulse of their people. I ask them questions like, hey, what are you hearing? Are you hearing anything? Rumors, brush fires, let me know. I can help you. I said, I can tailor this to our people as far as what we're needing. But if you don't say anything, I can't fix it if I don't know what's broken.
What do you hear mostly out of those UDM meetings that you can share that maybe that comes up a lot?
The biggest thing is yellow ribbon's a joke in some cases, but those are the ones that was when we had it before the regional concept, when we used to have it in-house, because it was always mandatory. Every time you deployed, they always had to go. So it was always the same stuff. Now that we made it optional, is more of a power word than mandatory in this case, they kind of like it. But they can come back if they need to. So some of the information as far as what I get from the UDMs would be life changes from their family. What can help my spouse out, because usually the military member is covered no matter what. Right. And of course, if they're needing something. So a lot of stress, PTSD, retirements, I think, buying houses, finance. We do have a financial counselor that we actually bring to this, as well as one of the other benefits that they bring. We bring financial counselors just in case everybody has money and wants more money. So we bring them there. However, with this, it's free of charge. Normally, if you go financial counselor outside of the base in the civilian world, they charge $750 an hour just to use their services, while we give it to them for free.
So what made you choose this line of work and here in the wing?
With this one, what piqued my interest was after I retired, kind of got out of the club, if you will, kind of missed it. Yeah. So was searching around to kind of get reconnected, because I didn't realize what I lost until it's gone, usually the standard kind of thing. Fishing around for a job, and because I was told, hey, try retiring after 20 years for like 6 months. The honey-do list got done in like 2 days, so had to fix all that. So I was like, okay, I'm bored. I got to find something. So after a small failed local job, decided to put my resume out there, Indeed.com. Got a call within 2 days after I dropped it, and it was Karen Stevens, former Command Chief Stevens from the 126th.
Oh, nice.
She happened to move on up. She was part of the wing. She retired, and she became part of the company. Talked to her for a little while. Sounded good. Asked her what it was about, because I didn't know what an air wing integrator was on the title.
Oh, that's your title?
That was what it was before it changed to Yellow Ribbon Support Specialist.
Oh, okay.
So they work with the wing. So once she kind of told me what it was, I was like, okay. And she goes, you familiar with the Guard unit at the 126? I'm like, yes, very familiar. I said, I used to work with the UDMs when I was across the base on active duty. Also, as far as I was part of the mighty 906th before I got transferred over to headquarters AMC. So I did have some interaction with the wing. So when she said to come back over here, I was fine, because I knew I'd be with a tight family. I know that the Guard units, once they, it's back in the family kind of thing. That's kind of what I missed.
What made you, you retired from AMC after 22 years. What made you stay in the area?
At family. That was the big thing. When I retired, I know that we get one big last move. Once we go, as far as what is, they will move us anywhere of our choice. So I asked the family. Kids were kind of still finishing up with school, and the family seemed to like the 4 seasons that we get here, and they wanted to stay. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yes. I'm like, done. Pulled the trigger, and here we are.
Nice. Where are you from?
California. Lived in, I'm California boy since I was 15, and then moved separated from my father, lived with my mother, because they divorced early, so decided to move with my mother and my stepfather, who was Navy. at the
okay.
time. And then grew up with them, went from California, Mississippi, biggest culture shock of my life.
Oh, I can imagine.
I got introduced to humidity foot moment as I got off the airplane, which is interesting. They don't have that in California.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Arkansas. He retired there, and that's kind of where I started my career. Finished high school there, and then joined the Air Force there and got stationed first base at Little Rock in Arkansas, which was nice.
Oh, you wanted to do that?
It was. They said, Nate, you never get what you never get when your wish list what you ask for.
Right.
So I asked for it and I got it.
Wow. What would you do in the Air Force?
I was aircraft mechanic on C-130s, RC-135s. When I moved to Okinawa for 5 years, went back to C-130s after that. Put in my package to be a military training instructor. Got accepted for that.
Wow.
Did that for 4 years.
TI.
Yes, sir.
How was that experience? What's that experience like?
Fast paced, very stressful.
Is it really?
But the reward is the molding. When I was working on aircraft maintenance, I used to teach all of my subordinates how to do it. So the teaching thing came kind of naturally, showing them how to do that. So why not be the ultimate instructor and ultimate teacher by doing that? So molding today's airmen was perfect. I mean, it paid off. So when you get to see them at their very worst, when they graduate, you get to see the best that we did. And then they come up and they want to thank me or shake my hand. I'm like, for what? I yelled at you. I took your hair and your clothes away. What for? And then you hear, well, you never gave up on me. Inspiring words from somebody like that is hard to swallow. It was very humbling, though.
What makes that a TI job stressful?
Long hours. When you have 40 to 60 trainees come in, everybody learns differently. Everybody's education is different. To get them all to walk the same path at the same beat at the same time is difficult. So having to break down what they know and then rebuild to what we want them to know is the hard thing. So it's the deprogramming to reprogramming issue there. And then kind of by third or fourth week, they kind of got it.
Really? Third or fourth week?
If we've done it by the timeline, they'll at least have to where they're self-reliant on themselves because we gave them structure, something they may never have. So we took away cell phones, so they don't use that. We allowed them not to run away because they can't. So, but they chose this. This is what they wanted, and we always remind them, it's like, remember, you asked for this. So, and then some of them either make it, which a lot of them do. Some of them don't because they either bring emotional baggage, emotional luggage which interferes. I work with the student flight here on the Guard unit as well, and I always remind them I always tell them, like, you need to be selfish for you to get what you want to provide for somebody else. I said, by the time you're in basic training, I said, think about you. Leave all this home. Take care of you. You can't take care of if you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of somebody else?
What do you do? You mentioned the student flight. What do you do here for the student flight?
We kind of give them a crash course of what they're going to get within roughly the first 72 hours after arrival. I know a few of other former instructors here on this base, and I bring them along with me, so it's not just me. I'm a female instructor, 2 other male instructors, and then we just kind of put them through the ringer, if you will, show them the position of attention, what it feels like to be kind of yelled at when we have to raise our voice. So they kind of get an idea what it feels like. So by the time they get there, they're kind of already tuned. They know what's coming. They just have to wait for it. But we don't give them all the magic tricks.
Yeah, of course not.
We give them a few because everyone's going to have to experience it on their own. We can prep them as much as we can. They still got to walk the path on their own to get through it.
Has that been pretty successful for the student flight to go through that?
Yes, I've actually told most of them once they return to come back and give a testimony as far as what they learned from student flight, and all of it's good. And if there's something that didn't work for us, they tell us, and we can revamp the program. So it's always changing.
That's fantastic. I don't know. I mean, kind of always wanted to be a TI, but just to have that to yell at people. I'm sure
I would go to work stressed and I'd come home not stressed because all the yelling that was done the day. I was tired. I mean, you don't always have to yell to be effective, though. So
sure. You said there. So what's the training like for a TI?
When I went through, it was 14 weeks. So it was 7 weeks in-house schooling. They teach you how to teach by a certain format. They don't teach you how to be an instructor. They teach you how to yell properly by diaphragm, just like singing. So they teach you diaphragms.
Seriously?
Yell. Yes, so they would put us outside and have us bounce our voices off a wall like a ball. So they'd have us yell. And if you did it right, it would come back. A lot of people would use their throat and just blow their voice out completely.
Sure.
So it'd be that, and they'd show us how to teach by a certain format because we're the epitome of excellence. So we have to look at and speak it the proper way. There's a certain format that we teach. I mean, teaching drill, there's all instructions. We're supposed to know it in our head.
Right.
So we have to know it verbatim, how to teach it effectively, how to make it look good, personalizing a story, if you will, to kind of relate to them, and then following up. So we do schoolhouse training, and then the last 7 weeks, like I said, this is back when I went through from 2006 to 2010 when I was down there. The last 7 weeks, we'd actually push a brand new flight from start to finish, and then when they graduate, so would we. We would have a regular cap on, and then we'd get that campaign hat upon graduation, and then we'd march down the bomb run with them, leading them.
Wow, that's got to be something.
Yes.
You must have a lot of good stories too.
There's a few.
Yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of ones I look back on and still laugh to this day. A lot of them I look back on and just look at the success stories. You know, I've had one.
Right.
I had one trainee that came through that had he had everything to gain, nothing to lose because he was homeless.
Wow.
He had nothing and everything to gain. He turned to be one of my best trainees, one of my best airmen, who then crossed over to be an Army Ranger in the Army.
Wow.
So he went from blue to green and became top dog. So he excelled from day one.
That's amazing. How was your experience, the 22 years in the Air Force and your time as a TI? How has that informed your application, your work in the Yellow Ribbon program?
It kind of helped me establish not to be afraid of talking in front of people, not to be help personalize me to engage with people in a big forum, so I can get out there, get the information, speak clearly, and communicate what needs to be done. That kind of helped. So that was a big bonus because I don't have to worry about being the shy kid in the back corner. I can actually speak, get it out there, at the same time still correct and get the information to the people as well. So it kind of helped.
Yeah, and I would imagine because you talked about it. You start to care for the kids that are going through.
Correct.
Through your flight
in
BMT.
Yeah, in my time, it was like raising kids at the time when it was an 8-week program. It was like raising kids in 8 weeks. There was a connection because it was, I could not use that same format at home. It didn't work. They looked at me funny, walked away. There was results. There was effectiveness. But I did get attached to some of them. Why? Because I want to see them succeed. Our job as an instructor is not to fail them, is to pass them because one day they're going to replace us. We're teaching replacements, so we're filling the need for the Air Force. But at the same time, like I said, it's like raising kids in 8 weeks, so there is some attachment to it.
But so they basically you learn, or they teach you that in 3 or 4 weeks you should see this. You're looking for certain benchmarks.
Yes, at least by the 3rd or 4th week, they look the part. They're into a routine. Whereas they shower every night, make their beds, they eat a certain way. The dorm has to be set up. They know not to talk in the hallway when they're allowed to go downstairs and from the dorm to whatever academic class they're going to. But they learn from each other as well. They learn to work as a team. I mean, I've pushed males and female flights, and as far as they work the same as far as once they kind of get the idea how it works.
Any more thoughts on the Yellow Ribbon program and something that you want folks to know about this?
As far as the program itself, it's don't listen to the people that have done it in the past. I mean, unless they've known it. If you're a first timer, check it out. At least because it's already paid for. Once you've realized that you're going to go, get the information that you need. Everyone deploys, but you may need something different from what your supervisor's telling you. I've heard of a lot of negativity from people that's been here forever and been there and done that kind of thing. Sometimes they will put a negative comment on the program itself. It does benefit everybody. You just got to find what fits for you. So it's good to go check it out because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
No kidding, and you might get to go to a different place to.
You might find a way that it's like, hey, I'm wanting to look to make some more money, finance. Hey, I might looking to buy a new house. We bring VA out there, so there's always something for everybody.
This is, well, yeah, I just want to talk about my experience. How is the Yellow Ribbon program in the Guard different than what happens in active service? Because I deployed 2 or 3 times in the Army, active Army, and it was just like, okay, congratulations for coming back. Here's your leave. See you in 2 weeks.
Active duty doesn't have this program. This is just for the Guard and Reserve and the Army as well. It's for the reserve services. The active duty doesn't have this program to where they do this, because since we're active duty, we can hit these resources at any given time. If you're a traditional, you only come to the base once a weekend for your training, you don't get the opportunities to get these benefits until you come on orders. Active duty is always on orders. They're always activated, so they have accesses to these resources already because they're already going to be in that status. Most of the traditionals don't get that status until they're activated or mobilized. Then they get the benefits 6 months prior to them moving. Then they can actually get those resources as well. So so the active duty doesn't even have this component. That's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about it, because I was active duty and I didn't get a chance to see this. I'm like, this would be great. Have everybody in one room. It's like, it's almost like a really good deployment and mobilization line, if you will.
Right. So
it's almost like going to the line, hitting everyone. But by the time you do, like if they still have the deployment line here, you hit all the markers already. In the active duty, you're like, I wouldn't even know where to go. And of course, if you're going to rely on sometimes your supervisor, they may not even know. But active duty doesn't even have this program.
All right, that's Daniel Cooper. He's been our guest here on the podcast. Thank you, Daniel, for coming in. Mr. Daniel Cooper is the Yellow Ribbon Support Specialist. I'm sure you'll see him around the wing.
Thanks for having me, Sir Allison.
With your look around the Air Force, I'm Staff Sergeant Britt Crowley. Secretary of the Air Force Barbara Barrett said farewell to the Air and Space Forces during a ceremony in her honor at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, Washington.
I leave confident that the United States of America is safe and secure from all enemies, foreign and domestic, because of you, the brave men and women who stand the watch, who guard the perimeter, who ensure free and open access to space and defend democracy from above.
During her 15 months as the Air Force's highest-ranking civilian leader, Barrett led several critical initiatives, including the birth of the Space Force, addressing racial inequality, and guiding the service during the COVID-19 pandemic. Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, is the preferred location for U.S. Space Command headquarters. The Secretary of the Air Force made the selection on behalf of the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Redstone Arsenal, along with 5 alternate locations, were chosen based on factors related to the mission, infrastructure capacity, community support, and cost to the Department of Defense. The Air Force plans to make a final decision on the location by spring 2023, pending the results from a required environmental impact analysis. U.S. Space Command headquarters will remain in Colorado Springs, Colorado, until the finalized location is prepared to support the mission. There's a new core career field coming online for Air Force officers in the spring. The Foreign Area Officer Program will no longer be a secondary career field. Officers can voluntarily transfer into the Foreign Area Officer Program. The program organizes and trains select officers to be language-enabled, culturally astute, and operationally relevant regional experts. They engage with foreign military leaders and government officials. The change is part of the Air Force's reorientation toward great power competition. And that's your look around the Air Force.
Colonel Jackson, the wing commander, is asking us all to take the climate survey no later than February 21st. This gives you the opportunity to let the commander know about any work issues that concern you the most. The survey is voluntary. You can find that link for the climate survey in your military email. Miltax from Military OneSource includes free, easy-to-use tax preparation and e-filing software designed for situations common to service members and their families. The suite of services include Miltax consultants who can answer your questions and advise you on military-specific tax requirements and deductions. The physical fitness assessments, don't forget about those, they will resume in April and will no longer include the waist measurement component. While the waist measurement is permanently removed from the assessment, height and weight measurement will resume October 21st. You can find all of our links to our webpage and Facebook at linktr.ee/126ARW. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget you can also download this on your favorite podcast app. If you want to pass along some information, you can email roll call at 126.arw.pa.mm.org@us.af.mil. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison.